Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and welcome to This Week in WoW for the week of December 19th. As usual, we'll get started with the Mythic Plus affixes for this week. This week we have Tyrannical, Incorporeal, and Spiteful. Again, that's Tyrannical, Incorporeal, and Spiteful. A bit of a shocker here. Now, shock to the system, I should say here. This is going to be a little bit of a rough week. Now, bolstering did end up, I hinted last week in last week's video that bolstering could be a bit of trouble with some of these very large pulls that we're doing this season in Mythic Plus, and that did end up being the case. Bolstering definitely made you have to pull smaller if you didn't want your tank to just to fall over dead, apparently. But you know, so, bolstering was getting a lot of hate, some of which is deserved, in my opinion, because I think what's fun about this season is the big pulls. And so that did happen. So last week was a bit of a shock too. But now we're going to have Incorporeal with Spiteful. Spiteful is rough with those big pulls too. Incorporeal, Spiteful, and of course back to Tyrannical. So we're seeing more people play Mythic Plus this season than normally ever would. Especially, I mean, in any season, let alone this is like the end of a season, right? Or the end of an expansion. So participation rate is extremely high in Mythic Plus, but I think these harder affixes that we're going to get here is going to probably drive that down a little bit, would be my guess. But the keys are generally easier, so anybody who's first just diving into Mythic Plus for the first time, maybe they've been nervous to or whatever, it's still a really good season to get started on Mythic Plus. But I think some of the more mid-level people, including like myself, are going to start dwindling away a little bit as these affixes get harder, as you've accomplished kind of what you wanted to accomplish. It's still probably going to be good for people who want to push keys, and it's still probably going to be good for people who are just starting out, right? What is what I would say about this season. But it lasted for a good time of having these really easy affixes and these really big pulls, and it was really fun. And it's not that it's not going to be fun, it's just going to be less fun. Which of course for some people it means it's not fun. Other news before we get started on like the calendar stuff, earlier today Blizzard put out a little preview of the hero talents. So I did a video on hero talents for War Within when they announced the BlizzCon, and they released a little bit of a preview here. We're not going to go through it on this video, but you can check that out if you like. It's on Wowhead. It's on like the Blizzard forums, whatever, the Blizzard page, whatever. And you can check out hero talents, and they released a few of them: the Salen Death Knight, the Chrono Warden, Evoker, the Lightsmith Paladin, which has nothing. It's the Holy Paladin. And then the Mountain Thane Warrior, which is the Prot Fury Warrior. So if you're any of those specs, you're probably interested in that, and you can check those out. People have already dove into them pretty hardcore. They also put out some interviews today, mostly regarding these, with creators that are known for doing those specs or whatever, and kind of talking about them more with them as well. These are very class fantasy focused, but they are going to give player power too. It's not just a quick rundown. It's not something that you have to really grind. You get them as you level up in the new expansion, and you get all of the nodes. You don't have to there's not like a certain. It's like your artifact weapon in Legion where you eventually unlock everything. But there are a few choice nodes. So I saw one person, I think it was Dratnos, compare it to Covenants. Like, not Covenants at the start of Shadowlands. Covenants once you could just freely switch everything. But obviously this is easier. You don't have to go to a certain land to switch your Covenant. You just do it on the UI or whatever with these hero talents. But it's a lot less balancing than that. So he was pretty hopeful that they'll get the balancing part of it down. But yeah, mostly positive things for hero talents. It looks like they're not painting themselves into a corner with hero talents, and hopefully they don't, right? That's obviously what I would hope. I hope that they do it successfully. As far as video goes, maybe I'll go over hero talents again when the Rep Paladin specific hero talent stuff comes out. I will do a deep dive on those for all the Rep Paladin subscribers. When we get into what's going on this week, we have the Pet Battle bonus event, PvP Brawl. We do have Timewalking for Burning Crusade this week for all the Timewalking fans. You can go do Black Temple, do the Burning Crusade dungeons, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you have a bunch of badges left over from doing the anniversary stuff for World of Warcraft as well, so you can take part in that. Also, we talked about the Christmas event last week's video. Feast of Wintervale is here, and I wasn't sure in last week's video if they did like a little mini rework to it or not. I couldn't remember. It appears as though they just added a few new toys and a couple new achievements and stuff like that. So no rework, I would say, but just some new stuff to it or whatever. So you can make sure you go to Ironforge or Orgrimmar or whatever and open up your presents and stuff like that. You can also get a Drake customization for your dragon riding mount. It actually looks pretty decent, especially compared to some of the other holiday ones that they've released. So it actually is pretty cool. And you just get that from opening a present, I believe, underneath the tree. So you can go do that. You still have over a week to get that done. Almost 2 weeks still to get that done, so you don't have to rush or anything. One thing I wanted to point out as well with Feast of Wintervale, a lot of people don't seem to know this, but there is a mount that you can get. It's like a minion of Grumpus or something like that. And you go kill the Abominable Snowman thing in Alteric Mountains, which is like north of South Shore, northwest of Terran Mill. And you go up there. There's like a quest to go up there too, right? If you go to Ironforge or Orgrimmar, there's like a holiday quest, and you go up there, and I think he has a chance to drop the mount or something like that. I actually don't have the mount yet myself, but a lot of people don't seem to even know about this mount, so it's worth just putting out into the ether that it exists if you want to go try to get that or not. Personally, we got another new boss down, Mythic Nemu. We're working on Mythic Smolderon. Got a few pulls in on it. Generally happy with the raid and progression still, but just generally dissatisfied with Retribution Paladin, as showcased in the video from last week, where I was pretty much complaining about Ret Paladin and how absolutely terrible it is in raid right now. Just as I predicted it would be. It's kind of just like a prophecy being fulfilled at this point. They've given us 6% damage buff so far, but they've also buffed all the other weak classes, and at this point it's just Ret needs so much more damage in raid that it's just not even close to being viable in raid or good in raid at all. So that's a bit sad. Other than if it wasn't for that, I would be so over the moon with this patch. Honestly, probably the most fun I've ever had in Mythic Plus. One of the better raids they've ever made. And it's just my spec sucks, and so that makes me not feel great all the time. But other than that, everything else is pretty much great. So yeah. They also basically announced that they're still doing the esports stuff for next year. Nothing to talk about in this video for that because it's so far away. I believe the earliest thing is in February for AWC. I believe might be the first thing there in February. So still a ways away on that, but they are continuing MDI, TGP, and AWC. So that's going to be it for this one. Merry Christmas to anybody who celebrates Christmas. I guess if you're in the middle of Hanukkah or whatever, happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday. I don't mind whichever holiday or no holiday that you celebrate. Due to religious reasons or non-religious reasons, I happen to be not a very religious person who celebrates Christmas and calls it Christmas and is happy with that. So, but anybody celebrating holidays at all, happy holidays to you, and I hope that even if you don't celebrate holidays, that this can be a good time for you and your family and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be back next week and talk, and then I'll wish you a happy new year. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. And other than that, everybody have a good one.